arrogant alien warrior women laughed at Earth until they met him.
Before we start, kindly subscribe to my channel and tell me, where in the universe are you watching from? The great halls of the Azrak Dominion roared with laughter. Towering warrior women, clad in dark metallic armor, pounded their fists against their massive stone tables. The sound echoed through the chamber like a war drum. At the center of it all stood Leon Voss, the only human in the room. He was tall by Earth standards, but among the 7-foot-tall Azrak warriors, he looked almost small. His dark hair was slightly messy, his sharp green eyes scanning the room with a mix of amusement and disbelief. His Earth-issued uniform, black and gold, neatly pressed, was spotless, but at that moment, it felt like flimsy paper against the sheer force of Azrak presence. On the throne above him sat High Warlady Xyra Velthar, a legend among her people. She was built like a goddess of war, muscular yet elegant, with violet-hued skin that shimmered under the torchlight. Her long silver-white hair was tied back in a warrior's braid, revealing striking golden eyes that gleamed with arrogance. She rested her chin on her fist, smirking down at him. "You refuse to kneel?" she asked, her voice rich with amusement. Leon crossed his arms. "Yeah, I'm not really the kneeling type." The room erupted again, this time in mocking laughter. Azrak warriors whispered to one another, shaking their heads. To them, this human was either fearless or foolish. "You stand before the supreme leader of the Azrak Dominion," Xyra said slowly, as if speaking to a child. "Every species kneels in my presence. Even your own ambassadors have done so before." Leon shrugged. "That's their choice. No offense, Your Highness." "High Warlady," she corrected, her smirk widening. "Right, no offense, High Warlady, but where I come from, respect isn't about bowing. It's about actions. If I kneel, it's because I respect someone, not because I'm scared of them." A tense silence filled the hall. Warriors exchanged glances, some intrigued, others insulted. Xyra leaned forward, her golden eyes narrowing. "You do not fear me." Leon let out a small chuckle. "Oh, I do. You could probably snap me in half. But fear and respect aren't the same thing." Xyra's fingers tapped against the armrest of her throne. Her warriors awaited her command. Surely she would punish this insolent human. But instead, she did something unexpected. She laughed. Not the mocking laughter of her warriors, but a genuine, amused laugh. Her eyes shone with interest. No man had ever spoken to her like this before. "Well then, human," she said, standing to her full height, her towering frame casting a shadow over him. "If you do not show respect through kneeling, perhaps you can prove it through combat." Leon blinked. "Wait, combat?" The warriors cheered, already excited for what was to come. Xyra tilted her head. "You Earthlings claim to be clever. I am giving you a chance to demonstrate it. If you survive a duel, you may speak as my equal." Leon sighed. He had hoped this diplomatic meeting would go smoothly. Instead, he was about to fight for his life. And the worst part, he had no idea what he was up against. The cheers of the Azrak warriors filled the great hall as Leon Voss found himself pushed into a fighting arena, a circular pit surrounded by stone pillars. The floor was rough, battle-worn, and stained from countless previous fights. Torches burned high above, casting flickering shadows across the chamber. Leon let out a long breath, rolling his shoulders. "All right, Leon," he muttered to himself. "You've survived worse, probably." High Warlady Xyra Velthar stood on the platform above, arms crossed, watching him like a predator sizing up its prey. Her golden eyes gleamed with amusement, but there was something else there, curiosity. "This is a test of worth. Human," she announced. "You will fight a champion of my choosing. Prove yourself, and I may grant you my respect." Leon smirked. "And if I lose?" Xyra's lips curved into a slow grin. "Then at least your bravery will be remembered." The giant iron doors on the far side of the pit rumbled open. A hulking beast stomped forward, its thick, scaled hide glistening under the torchlight. It had 4 glowing red eyes, massive claws, and a maw filled with jagged teeth. The warriors cheered wildly, some already placing bets on how long the fight would last. Leon blinked. "Oh, that's That's not a person." The beast let out a thunderous roar, shaking the arena walls. "Okay," Leon muttered, cracking his knuckles. "Plan A, don't die." The beast charged. Leon barely dodged as razor-sharp claws slashed through the air where he had stood a second earlier. Dust and stone flew into the air. He rolled, reaching for his sidearm, only to realize they had taken his weapons before the fight. "Of course they did," he groaned. The Azrak warriors laughed, entertained by the spectacle, but Xyra watched with sharp interest. Leon had no brute strength, but he had his brain. He studied the beast's movements, noticing the way it turned, the way its heavy front limbs slowed it down. It was strong, but not fast. He ran toward the nearest stone pillar, dodging another swipe from the monster's claws. The beast lunged, and Leon dived aside at the last second. Crack! The beast's head slammed into the pillar, sending cracks running up the stone. It let out a stunned growl, shaking its massive skull. The warriors gasped. Leon grinned. "Yeah, that's right. Who's laughing now?" The beast snarled and charged again. Leon sprinted toward another pillar, dodging just as the creature crashed into it again. The crowd's laughter faded into murmurs of surprise. He wasn't fighting the beast. He was outsmarting it. On the third charge, the already weakened pillar shattered completely, sending massive stone chunks collapsing onto the beast's back. A cloud of dust filled the air. Silence. Then, a loud cheer erupted. Leon stood, brushing off his uniform. He glanced up at Xyra, who was watching him with a look he hadn't seen before. Admiration. "Well," he said, breathing heavily, "that was fun. Do I get a prize, or—" Xyra suddenly jumped down into the pit with him. Before he could react, she grabbed his wrist and raised his arm high. "By Azrak law," she declared, her voice echoing through the hall, "he has defeated my chosen champion. He has proven his worth. He is mine." Leon blinked. "Wait. What?" The warriors cheered louder. Some banged their fists against their armor in celebration. Leon turned to Xyra, confused. "What do you mean, yours?" She smirked, leaning in slightly. "You challenged me. You won. In my culture, this means you are now my mate." Leon's brain short-circuited. The hall burst into wild celebration. Azrak warriors clapped him on the back. Drinks were poured. Xyra looked far too pleased with herself. Leon, on the other hand, just ran a hand down his face. "I was not prepared for this." Leon Voss sat at the grand feast table, staring blankly at the giant roasted beast leg on his plate. Around him, hundreds of Azrak warriors were cheering, drinking, and slamming their fists against the stone tables. The air smelled of fire, spice, and something suspiciously like motor oil. He was still trying to process what had just happened. One moment, he was fighting for his life. The next, he was married to a 7-foot-tall warrior queen. Across the table, Xyra Velthar sat with a victorious smirk, her golden eyes glowing under the flickering torchlight. Her long silver-white hair was now unbraided, flowing over her powerful shoulders. She looked relaxed, amused even, as if she hadn't just appended Leon's entire existence. "So, husband," she said, taking a bite of meat, "you look troubled." Leon set down his fork and rubbed his temples. "Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I just found out I'm married. To an alien? Without agreeing?" Xyra laughed, a deep, rich sound. "You won me in combat. It is an honor." Liam groaned. "It was an accident. I was just trying not to die." A nearby warrior, Commander Vekra, a fierce-looking Azrak woman with dark crimson skin and short black hair, grinned at him. "That is how the best bonds are made." Liam looked around, hoping someone, anyone, would be on his side. Instead, he saw warriors raising their cups to him, clapping him on the back so hard he nearly face-planted into his plate. To the human, one warrior bellowed, "May he survive his first night." Leon's stomach dropped. "First night?" Xyra leaned forward, resting her chin on her fist. "Ah, yes, our bonding must be sealed." Leon coughed. Sealed? You mean like a handshake?" More laughter. Even the serious-looking warlords were chuckling now. Xyra smiled, clearly enjoying his discomfort. "You are amusing, husband," Liam groaned, dragging a hand down his face. "Okay, let's take a step back. Hypothetically, if I don't want to be married, what happens?" The hall fell silent. Dozens of golden, red, and violet eyes turned toward him. The air grew thick with tension. Zyra's smirk disappeared. "You would reject me." Leon hesitated. Her tone had shifted. There was no humor in it now. Around the room, warriors exchanged glances. A few reached for their weapons, as if he had just insulted their entire species. Leon felt sweat trickle down his neck. No, that's not what I meant." He held up his hands. "Look, where I come from, marriage is usually a choice between two people, both agreeing to it, and I didn't really get a say." Zyra studied him. Slowly, she leaned back, tapping her fingers against her goblet. "I see," she said, voice quieter now. "You believe you were forced." Leon shifted uncomfortably. "Weren't I?" She tilted her head, watching him with an unreadable expression. Then, without another word, she stood. The warriors immediately fell silent. "Very well, human," she declared. "If you wish to leave, I will not stop you." Leon blinked. "Wait, really?" Zyra's golden eyes locked onto his. "But first, you must prove you are not worthy of me." Leon's stomach sank. He had walked straight into a trap. The warriors cheered, banging the tables. Commander Vecra smirked. "Oh, this will be entertaining." Leon sighed. "Let me guess. Another fight." Zyra smirked. "Not just any fight." She turned to the crowd. "A battle of wits." The warriors gasped. Leon sat up straighter. "Wait, a battle of wits, not fists." Zyra leaned closer, her breath warm against his ear. "I want to see if your mind is as sharp as your tongue, husband." Leon exhaled. At least he had a chance now. "Fine, what's the game?" Zyra grinned. "We debate." Leon blinked. "A debate against an alien warlord?" The warriors erupted in cheers and laughter, already excited for the next battle. Liam groaned. "Oh, I am so doomed." Leon Voss stood in the center of the grand hall, surrounded by towering Azrak warriors. The air buzzed with excitement, mugs clanked together, and warriors placed bets. Across from him, Syra Velthar, High Warlady of the Azrak Dominion, stood with her arms crossed, a confident smirk on her lips. Her golden eyes gleamed with challenge, and her long silver-white hair shimmered under the torchlight. Leon exhaled. He had survived a fight with a giant beast, but now he had to win a debate against an alien warlord. This was going to be rough. Zyra raised her hand. "The rules are simple," she announced. "We each take turns presenting arguments. The crowd will judge who speaks with strength and wisdom." Liam nodded. "All right, and if I win?" Zyra's smirk widened. "Then you may leave this union." The warriors murmured in surprise. Some frowned, others whispered among themselves. Clearly, no one expected her to make such an offer. Leon's chest tightened. Why did she agree so easily? Was she that confident? Or did she actually care what he thought? Zyra took her place, standing tall like a queen before her people. Leon cracked his knuckles, shaking off his nerves. The battle of wits had begun. Round 1, Strength versus Strategy. Zyra raised her chin. "Strength rules the galaxy," she declared. "Only the strong survive. Weakness leads to ruin." The warriors cheered in approval, pounding their chests. Leon rubbed his jaw. "Strength is important, sure," he said, pacing slightly. "But strength alone, it's useless without strategy. The boulder is strong, but a river carves through mountains because it's smart." Some warriors murmured in thought. A few nodded. Zyra's eyes narrowed slightly. He had made an impression. Round 2, Honor versus Survival. Zyra stepped forward. "Honor binds warriors. Without it, we are nothing." The warriors roared, raising their fists. Leon scratched his chin. "Honor is great," he admitted. "But what's the point if you're dead?" Silence. Zyra's golden eyes locked onto his. A challenge. Leon smirked. "Take history on Earth. We had warriors who charged into battle for honor and lost. Then we had warriors who adapted, changed tactics, and lived. Honor's great, but you can't protect your people if you're in the ground. Some warriors grunted in agreement. Zyra's expression didn't change, but Leon could see the respect in her gaze. Round 3. The meaning of power. Zyra's voice was steady. Power is the ability to conquer. Leon crossed his arms. Power is the ability to inspire. That made her pause. Leon stepped closer, lowering his voice slightly. A leader who rules with fear can control their people, but a leader who earns their people's trust, they change the galaxy. The room was dead silent. Even Zyra's warriors, who had been so sure of her victory, seemed uncertain. Zyra stared at him for a long moment. Her golden eyes searched his face, her expression unreadable. Then she laughed. It wasn't mocking. It was genuine, full of amusement and something deeper. She shook her head and turned to her warriors. I like this human. The warriors burst into cheers, clapping Leon on the back. Leon exhaled, running a hand through his dark hair. So, did I win? Zyra smirked. No. Leon's stomach dropped. Wait, what? But the crowd. She stepped forward, leaning in close. Too close. You have convinced me of your wisdom, Leon Voss. Her voice was softer now, but that only makes you more worthy as my mate. Leon blinked. That doesn't sound like losing. Zyra's lips curled, because it isn't. The warriors roared in laughter, and Leon knew one thing for certain. He was in serious trouble. Leon Voss sat on the edge of a massive stone balcony, overlooking the alien city of Zarketh. Beneath him, towering structures of black steel and crimson banners stretched toward the twin moons above. The air was crisp, carrying the distant sound of warriors training, engines roaring, and the hum of alien wildlife. He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. He had survived a beast fight, a marriage, and a battle of wits. But instead of earning his freedom, he had only impressed his new wife more. A soft chuckle came from behind him. You look troubled, husband. Leon turned to see Zyra Velthar standing in the moonlight, arms crossed. Her golden eyes glowed softly, reflecting the city lights below. Her silver-white hair, usually tied back in tight warrior braids, flowed freely over her shoulders. The sight of her, standing tall and confident, made it very clear she was completely in control. Leon forced a smile, just taking in the view. Zyra stepped closer, tilting her head. You are planning an escape. Leon's smile froze. What? Me? No. Zyra smirked. I admire your spirit, but you are on a planet surrounded by my warriors. Even if you reach a ship, the fleet will intercept you before you can leave orbit. Leon exhaled. Okay, let's say I'm not trying to escape. What then? I just stay here forever. Zyra studied him. Does the thought displease you so much? Leon hesitated. She sounded almost hurt. He rubbed his face. Look, Zyra, you're amazing, strong, smart, terrifying in a good way. But this marriage, it wasn't my choice. Zyra was silent for a moment. Then she stepped closer, standing just inches from him. Leon could feel the warmth of her presence. I understand, she said quietly. Choice is important to you. That is unusual for my people. Leon glanced at her. You don't get a say in who you marry. Zyra shook her head. We fight, we claim. That is our way. She studied him for a long moment, then added, but I do not wish for you to resent me. Leon blinked. Wait, are you saying I have a choice now? Zyra's lips curved into a slow, knowing smile. If you prove you are truly unworthy as a mate, I will release you. Leon frowned. That sounds like another trap. Zyra's golden eyes sparkled with amusement. Perhaps. Before he could argue, a sudden explosion rocked the city below. Leon stumbled, catching himself against the stone railing. What the? A deep guttural alarm blared through the night. Down in the city, red warning lights flared across the buildings. Ships took to the sky, forming defensive formations. Zyra's expression hardened. She turned sharply. An attack. A warrior in heavy armor sprinted onto the balcony, slamming his fist to his chest in salute. High Warlady, the Threx Dominion, is launching an orbital assault. They have breached the outer defenses. Zera clenched her fists. Mobilize the fleet. Prepare for ground combat. Leon exhaled. Great, just what he needed. An intergalactic war. Zyra turned to him, eyes sharp. Stay here, it is too dangerous for you. Leon snorted. Yeah, no offense, but I've survived worse in the past 2 days. Zyra hesitated. Then, to Leon's surprise, she tossed him a small energy pistol. If you insist on fighting, she said, try not to die. Leon caught the weapon and smirked. No promises. The battle had begun. Leon Voss gripped the energy pistol tightly as explosions rumbled through the alien city of Zarkath. Red warning lights bathed the towering black steel structures in an eerie glow. Above, sleek enemy warships rained down fire, forcing Azrak defense turrets to blaze back in return. The air was thick with the roar of engines, the crackle of plasma blasts, and the distant battle cries of warriors clashing below. Zyra Velfar, standing tall in her crimson war armor, turned to her soldiers. Defend the city. Show the Threx Dominion the strength of the Azrak. A chorus of fierce battle cries erupted from the warriors around her as they charged into the fray. Leon, standing beside her, let out a nervous breath. All right, any chance I can sit this one out? Zyra smirked. You wished for freedom, human. Earn it. Leon sighed. Figures. With no time to argue, Zyra leaped from the balcony, landing effortlessly on the war-torn streets below. Her twin energy blades ignited, slicing through the air with a crackling hum. She was a blur of motion, spinning, dodging, and cutting down enemy warriors in her path. Leon, still on the balcony, peeked over the edge. Yeah, no way I'm jumping that. Instead, he took the long way down, rushing through a stone corridor as the walls shook from heavy artillery fire. He sprinted into the open streets, nearly getting flattened by a massive armored Threx soldier swinging a plasma hammer. Leon barely dodged, firing his pistol on instinct. The shot hit the Threx in the shoulder, making the hulking alien stagger back. Leon grinned. Okay, not bad. Then the Threx roared, swinging its hammer again. Leon yelped and dove behind a pile of debris. Nope, nope, nope. Suddenly, a silver blur shot past him. Zyra, with a fierce snarl, vaulted onto the Threx's shoulders, driving her blade through its thick armor. The massive warrior collapsed with a heavy thud. Zyra landed gracefully, flipping her hair back as she turned to Leon. Was that fear I heard, husband? Leon exhaled. Not fear, just healthy concern for my continued survival. Zyra smirked. Then fight smarter, not harder. She tossed him a small spherical device. Leon caught it, staring at the glowing surface. What is this? A Threx disruptor, she said. Use it wisely. Leon arched an eyebrow. And by wisely, you mean? Zyra turned, already engaging another wave of enemies. Figure it out. Leon grimaced. Of course, she expected him to think on his feet. Ducking behind cover, he watched as Threx soldiers in heavy armor marched forward, overwhelming Azrak warriors with brute force. Their thick plating absorbed most energy blasts, making them nearly impossible to stop. Leon's mind raced. Heavy armor, shields, weak to. Then it clicked. He grinned, pressed a button on the disruptor, and hurled the device toward the incoming Threx squad. The sphere hit the ground, emitting a high-pitched pulse. And suddenly, every Threx warrior in the blast radius froze as their energy shields short-circuited. The Azrak seized the opportunity, cutting through the now vulnerable soldiers. Leon fist-pumped. Oh, I am keeping one of these. From across the battlefield, Kyra glanced his way, golden eyes flickering with approval. He wasn't just surviving, he was adapting. But before he could celebrate, a massive explosion erupted near the city's outer gates. A war horn echoed through the night, deep and menacing. The Threx had brought something bigger. Leon turned to Zyra. I don't suppose that's the victory horn. Zyra's expression darkened. No, she lifted her blade. That is their warlord. Leon swallowed hard. This fight wasn't over yet. A deep, rumbling war horn shook the battlefield as the ground trembled beneath Leon Voss's feet. He tightened his grip on the energy pistol, his heart pounding. Whatever the Threx Dominion had just unleashed, it was big. Xyra Velthar stood beside him, her golden eyes sharp with focus. Her silver-white hair whipped in the wind as she studied the battlefield. Around them, Azrak warriors braced themselves, gripping their weapons tighter. From the shattered gates of the city, a massive figure emerged, easily 9 feet tall, clad in heavy obsidian armor etched with crimson markings. His 4 glowing red eyes scanned the battlefield with cold amusement. A jagged black warblade rested on his shoulder, crackling with energy. Leon swallowed hard. I'm guessing that's the warlord. Xyra's jaw tightened. Yes, Vorak the Devourer. Leon made a face. Devour? Seriously? Do these guys take villain names from a bad sci-fi movie? Xyra didn't laugh. He has earned that name. He leaves nothing behind but ruin. Leon watched as Vorak stomped forward, his armored boots crushing stone beneath them. Around him, Threx warriors cheered and pounded their weapons together, their confidence surging at the arrival of their leader. Vorak stopped a few paces away, his deep voice echoing across the battlefield. Xyra Velthar. He tilted his head. I expected more resistance. Xyra raised her twin energy blades. Then you have misjudged me. Vorak let out a low guttural chuckle. You were always too proud. His 4 eyes flicked toward Leon, and the warlord's expression shifted to amusement. And what is this? A human? Has the mighty Azrak warlady grown desperate? Leon exhaled. Man, aliens really love underestimating me. Xyra smirked slightly but didn't take her eyes off Vorak. Leave now, Vorak, or I will cut you down. The Threx warlord's amusement vanished. His massive blade crackled as he swung at once, the force alone shaking the air. You will try. The duel begins. Without another word, Vorak lunged forward, his warblade slicing down. Xyra dodged at the last second, rolling to the side as the ground where she stood exploded into rubble. She moved like lightning, her twin blades flashing as she struck back. Sparks flew as her weapons clashed against Vorak's armor, but the warlord barely flinched. With terrifying speed, he spun, his blade forcing her to leap backward. Leon gritted his teeth. She was fast, but Vorak was stronger. A sharp whistle caught his attention. 2 Threx warriors were charging him from the side. Leon barely had time to react. He dove behind a fallen pillar, firing off quick shots with his pistol. One blast hit a Threx in the knee, making the soldier stumble. The other swung a plasma axe at him. Leon barely ducked in time. Yeah, okay, really missing a good helmet right now, Leon muttered. Thinking fast, he grabbed another disruptor sphere from his belt. He rolled it toward the Threx's feet, and the moment it activated, their energy weapons fizzled out. Leon grinned, and that's my cue. With a well-placed shot, he took out the first warrior, then quickly dodged as the second charged at him. Meanwhile, Xyra and Vorak's battle raged on. The warlord swung faster than seemed possible for his size, and Xyra was forced to stay on the defensive. Her blades left deep scratches in his armor, but none of them were enough to stop him. Vorak finally landed a hit. His blade caught Xyra's side, sending her crashing into a stone wall. Leon's stomach twisted. Xyra. She coughed, pushing herself up, but Vorak was already raising his blade for the final blow. Leon didn't think. He just moved. With reckless speed, he grabbed a fallen Threx energy rifle, aimed and fired. The blast slammed into Vorak's shoulder, staggering him slightly. The warlord turned, his 4 red eyes locking onto Leon. Leon's heart pounded. Oh, he did not think this through. Vorak let out a low growl. Foolish human. Leon exhaled. Yep, that's me. And then Vorak charged straight at him. Leon Voss had 1 second to react before Vorak, the Devourer, reached him. The massive Threx warlord charged, his obsidian warblade crackling with deadly energy. Leon barely had time to roll aside as the weapon slammed into the ground, shattering stone where he had just been standing. Scrambling to his feet, Leon fired his stolen rifle, but Vorak deflected the blast with a swift swing of his blade. "Oh, come on," Leon muttered. "That's just unfair." Vorak lunged again, swinging horizontally. Leon ducked, feeling the blade's energy hum past his head. He wasn't going to win a straight-up fight. He needed a plan. From the side, Syra Velthar had recovered. She dashed forward, her twin blades spinning, aiming for Vorak's exposed back. But the warlord was ready. Without turning, Vorak kicked backward, catching Syra in the stomach and sending her flying. She crashed into a broken pillar, groaning as she tried to rise. Leon gritted his teeth. She was fast, but Vorak was stronger and more experienced. And now Leon was alone. The warlord turned back to him, his 4 red eyes glowing with amusement. "You are bold, human," Vorak rumbled, "but bravery is not enough." Leon's fingers tightened on the rifle. "Yeah, neither is a bad attitude, but you seem to be doing fine." Vorak snarled and raised his blade for a final strike. Leon's mind raced. Think, Voss. He's stronger. He's armored. But what did Zyra say? Fight smarter, not harder. Leon's eyes darted around. The battlefield. The debris. The disruptor. His fingers brushed against the last disruptor sphere on his belt. That's it. Just as Vorak brought his blade down, Leon threw himself backward, landing hard on his back. He activated the disruptor and hurled it straight at Vorak's chest. The moment the sphere hit, a powerful energy pulse exploded outward, sending waves of blue light crackling through Vorak's armor. The warlord froze mid-swing, his body locking up as the disruptor overloaded his energy field. Leon didn't waste time. He grabbed a fallen Threk's energy pike, flipped it in his hands, and drove it straight through Vorak's weakened chest plate. The warlord let out a shocked snarl, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Leon, panting, twisted the weapon and yanked it free. Vorak staggered back, his massive form collapsing onto one knee. For the first time, the Threk soldiers hesitated. Zyra, now standing, strode forward. She pointed her blade at Vorak's throat. "Your reign is over." Vorak glared up at her, struggling to rise, but his body refused to obey. His armor flickered, sparking from the disruptor's damage. Leon wiped sweat from his forehead. "So, is this the part where you tell him to yield?" Zyra's golden eyes flicked to Leon, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "Yes." She turned back to Vorak. "Leave now. Tell your Dominion that Zarkath will never fall." Vorak's gaze lingered on her, then on Leon. A slow, bitter chuckle rumbled from his chest. "Perhaps I underestimated your human." Zyra smirked. "We all did." Vorak let out a deep breath, then pressed a signal on his gauntlet. A moment later, the Threk's warships pulled back, retreating into the sky. The battle was over. Leon let out a long sigh, dropping onto a pile of rubble. "Well, that was fun." Zyra stepped beside him. "You fought well, husband." Leon glanced at her. "So does this mean I get to go home?" Zyra studied him for a moment. Then, a small smile touched her lips. "That depends." Leon raised an eyebrow. "On." She leaned in slightly. "Do you still wish to leave?" Leon opened his mouth, then hesitated. Somehow, the idea of leaving didn't feel as urgent anymore. Maybe, just maybe, he had found something worth staying for.